So, as you know, my name is Kim Ware and I am your instructor, and we are officially more than halfway through this course. Yeah.
Hey.
So, we're in a much different place than we were the last time that we all saw each other. So, I'm just really excited to see you and to encourage you to keep pressing on. The next several things we're going to conquer in this course include friendship and work and family relationships, and then we're just going to round it out with a nice little reflection. So, what I'd like to do before we get into the bulk of the presentation this morning about public speaking is just review the assignments that are coming up with you and talk to you about what those entail. So, we have assignment 4, 5, and 6. Assignment 4 looks at friendship, and it's looking at friendship in different stages of life in different contexts. So I'm asking you to consider what friendship looks like using specific concepts as a college student, in the middle of life with someone who is your same sex, having a work relationship that way, and then later in life, like think 65 plus, how those friendships might change over time and what concepts we might use to maintain those relationships. So 100 words, you might feel like you can say it in less than 100 words, which you can be very short and sweet and say it, but it doesn't help you really analyze the what ifs and the preparation for what might happen. So aim at using that study guide to help you figure out what concepts that you want to use, define those concepts, and then give some applications for what that could look like in those different stages. So that's assignment 4. Do you have any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So once you wrap up assignment 4, you really want to start looking at assignment 5. Think of this as like your final project in the course where you kind of bring everything all together. So in assignment 5, you're going to be asked to interview 2 different people using the same set of questions. So one person is going to be a family or a friend that you're going to interview about their family life. And the other person is going to be someone who goes to work somewhere in an organization. It can be a coworker that you have, or it can just be someone else who goes to work. When you read the instructions, it says record your answers, and that is intended to be recording with your hand. So if you are able to type those out, you can do that. I will also accept pictures of handwritten answers if you'd like. It's just 10 questions. So make sure you ask those of 2 different people. So plan ahead to get that. Part 2 of that assignment is comparing and contrasting their answers. So what you should do is use the 10 questions that you asked as a guide to help you compare what was the same, what was different. In the compare and contrast, you need to have 8 bullet points. It's a list, no paragraphs needed, but they do need to be complete sentences. Finally, in part 3, this is where the nitty-gritty brain work is going to happen. I want you to think about concepts you've used over the entire course and apply it as advice that you would give to those people that you interviewed. It can be advice that encourages them to do better if they have a really great work-life balance and they're communicating really well. Or if some trouble spots came up during the interview, you could say, okay, as a quote, interpersonal communication expert now, here's what I think that you should consider. It is very easy to talk about the concepts implicitly in this area, but I want you to be very explicit. So if you notice that listening is an issue for them and they just need to stop and be quiet, tell them what specific styles of listening maybe they should be using, or give them some active listening techniques and really outline those. If you notice there's issue with conflict, maybe surrounding technology, say, well, here's what technology looks like in the interpersonal realm, and I see you're having conflict. Maybe you should try compromising, and here's what this would look like for you. So again, this is a bit more involved, so you should start working on that right away. It's 125 points, and it's worth it because at the end you'll be like, I really understand the material of this course and I can apply it. Now, when you're giving this advice, it's really for my eyes only. If the people that you're interviewing are like, hey, how'd that turn out? I'd like to hear it. You've learned a lot of tools to be able to deliver advice in a loving and tactful way to encourage them, right? Yes, I have. And remember, it takes practice because we are all growing and changing all the time. So it takes practice. And finally, assignment 6 is actually due on Tuesday before the class ends. And I don't have that date in front of me, but it's in your calendar. And this is a short, sweet little video diary of where you hope to be in 10 years, what concepts really mattered to you, really stuck out to you, and what skills you plan to apply. Sometimes I've had students talk to me for like 16 minutes, and that's cool, but it's not required. So can you imagine if 24 students sent me a 10-minute long video? I love you all very, very much, but work-life balance. So let's try to keep it short and sweet, 2 to 5 minutes, and just answer those questions. So this video reflection is also an opportunity for you to apply what we're going to talk about today. Okay? Any questions about those last few assignments? No? Okay, so if they do come up, just holler at me and I'll help you out. So let's do a quick review of the model of communication. We talked about this earlier in class. I think this really helps set the stage for what we're about to talk about. So communication is transactional, meaning it's not like I give you something, you give me something back, we have a transaction, but it's a constant flow of things happening all the time. You have these messages that we're trying to send. We have people who are encoding the message to try to get it across the way we want it to be received. And then we have people who are decoding that message to try to understand what it is the speaker is saying. This can take many different channels, right? Off the top of your head, what sort of channels can you think about in the way that we communicate?
Nonverbal.
Yes, nonverbal. Good, Nicole.
Verbal.
Verbal, yep. So we can use words and they can be heard out loud. We can use our body language. Sometimes those things match, sometimes they don't. What else? What other channels do we have right now?
Hand gesture.
Hand gestures. Did someone say phone? Well, we can send those messages like we are now digitally through the computer. We can send them through the phone. We can handwrite them. We can text them. We could sing them. So as we are taking all these different channels to send our messages and receive messages, we have these other things that are coming in, which is noise. We've got noise in our head that keeps us from paying attention. We have noise coming in from the outside in various different ways. If we're in a coffee shop, what kind of noises might you hear?
Talking,
Say it one more time.
people talking, other people
Yes.
talking.
Yes, that is the worst when I'm really trying to pay attention to someone else and I don't want to eavesdrop, but there is like a really good conversation going on back here. Like trying to pull myself back in. You got the grinder of the machines,
Yeah.
the steaminess of the lattes. Lots of stuff going on. So we have got external noise and we have internal noise. So when we are going to speak to someone, whether it's in a large platform and there's many people, or even like a small group, if you have to deliver a message to your boss and a couple of other cohorts, or you're in the fitness program and you're trying to teach a class, there's all kinds of stuff that will interrupt. And so as we move into talking about public speaking, let's remember that this stuff is still happening, even if it's just one person talking and multiple people listening. So we don't have to do chat, but you can if you want to. What is your biggest fear when it comes to public speaking?
Getting what you're going to say.
Yes. Figuring out what you're going to say, getting it across.
looking like an idiot.
How many of us all feel like people are just staring at us?
Crying. I cried in like a English class. I had to give a
Aw.
public speaking, and it was about my dad, and I just like started crying. I was like, no, I never want to speak in public ever again.
Yeah, those emotional topics can just hit us sometimes when we're not expecting it.
Hmm.
Did you receive support from your classmates at all, Brooklyn?
I started just like tearing up and like crying in the beginning, and then by the end it was okay. So I think people kind of forgot about it, but it was traumatic for me.
Oh, well, that all makes sense. So maybe I can ease your fears a little bit about public speaking over the next few minutes. But why? Why would I give this presentation? Well, so if you recall from the first live event, a CALM class is something that's required in a collegiate career. It's a prereq basically everywhere you go. So you guys get to take interpersonal communication, but some other options you might have had included public speaking. So that's one thing. This is my one shot to jam a whole bunch of public speaking into you in a very short amount of time. And also, you just really never know when you're going to have to talk to people and present an idea. And so I want you to be somewhat prepared for that and give you some tools. Sound good?
Yes.
Yes. All right, so the first thing you got to think about when you have to speak publicly, if you have a chance to prepare, is warm-ups. You can actually warm up your body, but first you have to have the right outfit, okay? I mean, leotard, big hair, and blue eyeshadow. Who's with me? Yeah, I would go back. I was born in the early 80s, and I would go back and I would live that again. I mean, I got to be little during it, but I, like in the early 90s, the big curly hair and the great big bangs. I love that. And I would do that again. But sadly, I don't know if anyone else will go with me. So let's get back to talking about warm-ups. So when you have to warm up your body, if you think about it like a stick of gum, and are any of you fitness people?
No.
No. Okay. So
No.
if you guys were in the fitness program, you would understand this. So like you take a piece of gum, right? Before chewing the gum, you break it and it snaps, right? You can just go like that with a piece of gum. But if you put the gum in your mouth and you start chewing it, it starts warming up. You can take it out of your mouth, which we all tell our children, leave that gum in your mouth. But if you do, it is stretchy and very pliable. And that's what we need to do with our bodies if we have the opportunity before we speak. Even if you don't have a safe space to go to warm up, you can still do these things kind of nonchalantly. And the first thing I want to tell you is to breathe. Just breathe. Take in nice, slow, deep breaths and let them come out. When you're breathing and you're trying to calm your body down from the nervousness, we want to use our diaphragm and not our shoulders. So breathing doesn't look like this. That's shallow breathing. So if you're able to, you can put your hand on your belly. And if you take a deep breath in and out, you should feel your belly open and contract. And that is what is filling up our entire diaphragm. And then it's oxygenating the rest of our body so we can calm down. The reason that we get nervous is because of people looking at us, or I like to think it's because we have something to say that's important. Listen, no one at this point in your life is going to ask you to speak on something that you don't know. So the chances of them caring what you look like are pretty small. They have information that you want, that will, they have information, you have information that they want. And so you automatically have power when you go to speak to someone. So take those nice deep breaths to calm your body down, those chemicals that are flowing that are telling you it's going to be okay. So we've covered breathing. Try to get to where you're gradually lengthening the amount of time that you're breathing in and the lengthen the amount of time that you're breathing out so that it's all filling up and it's all completely expelling. The next thing you might think about is your face. Your face is like one big muscle and it can be warmed up as well. Something you can do to warm up your face is you can massage your temples. Feels really good. You can massage like your cheekbone, your jaw, your cheekbones, get into your ears, the back of your neck, because this is where we hold tension. And if we're going to go speak, we don't want to be holding tension because then when it's all over, you're going to end up with a headache or a crick in your neck. So make sure you warm up your face. You can do that by massage. You can also warm up your lips and your tongue. Anybody ever have dry mouth when you have to speak to someone? It's the worst. You feel like you just need to drink water and then your words get caught. So we can warm up our lips by doing lip trills. Just blow air. I know you can laugh. It's super funny. You can blow air out of your lips. You can blow sound out of your lips to warm up your vocal cords. So you can do the ups and the downs with your tongue and with your lips. You can also do tongue twisters, pull something out from your childhood that you remember that you really enjoyed and warm up your tongue, get the saliva flowing so that you don't have dry mouth and you don't get tongue tied. Now you may be wondering, that's real cool, but I'm not gonna like sit at a table with all of my coworkers around getting ready to speak and start blowing air out of my lips. No, probably not the best idea. But do you know where a safe space is that you can go? Sounds silly, but it's the bathroom. Or you can go out to your car. These are places where you can be alone and you can work that extra energy out before you have to speak. Okay. So anytime you're in a situation, just like, I remember my instructor, Brian, told me to go use the bathroom. That is my safe space. I'm also an introvert. So the bathroom is also my safe space when I'm in a crowd of people and I'm just like doing a lot of extra face work that doesn't, I mean, I'm having a good time, but like I need a moment. So the bathroom's a great place to go. So now what about your body? We've talked about breathing. We've talked about the face. What about your body? So your body, if you have to sit and you don't have the ability to stand up, just doing some basic shoulder rolls over and down. You can do some twists. Actually just jumping is not a bad idea. Again, what we're trying to do is work out the extra energy that is building in your body and help it to release so that you can go speak and you can feel cool and calm and collected. This also works in conflict situations too. You need to take a breather, feel yourself building up with anger, go do some jumping jacks. Any questions about warming up?
Just learn whenever you have to stand, do not lock your knees. You will pass out.
Yes, ma'am. Keep that body nice and open. Don't lock those knees. No passing out.
Have you ever heard of tapping? Like when you get anxious, you tap like the different parts of your face and it helps like calm you down.
No, but that's a good idea. Actually, maybe somewhere. I know I've heard of the thymus thump.
Mhm.
It's supposed to activate your immune system. But that is a really good idea. Do you remember where you heard that?
I actually learned it on a like women's Love Yourself retreat, and it's like a bunch of women who do like spiritual practices, holistic type of healing, and one lady does like tapping for like she works with autistic kids and stuff who are anxious, and she like helps them like just calm down.
Yeah, that's really good. And it gives you a focal point, right? You're suddenly focusing on doing something different than
Exactly.
what was in your mind. That's good. Thanks for sharing that.
They even have, you can either do it on your wrist too if you don't want to be at a table like touching your face. You can do it like on your wrists.
Yeah, like on the inside or the outside?
On the inside.
On the inside. Yeah, because there's a pulse point too there. So that makes a lot of sense. Nice, thanks. All right, so let's move on. So we're wondering what it is that we're going to say it's good to think about what is the information your audience really wants to know and narrow that down. Then to keep from getting lost, if you're not able to have notes, I like to use the tell them adage. Now, some professional speakers, again, professionals might say that this adage is out of date, but I still think it's really, really helpful for those of us who are just doing lay speaking and have to get a point across. So the idea is that you tell them what you're going to tell them. You tell them, and then you remind your audience what you told them. So tell them what you told them. This is really important because it helps you organize your thoughts and it helps your audience track with you. In general, audiences have about an 18-minute window where they stop listening and they have to be reeled back in. So doing this helps them track. It also helps them remember. And just like our learnings where you have to go through things so many times, this chunking helps people remember what is being said. So for example, if I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, let's consider that assignment 6, that reflection. Hi, I'm so glad to get to visit with you today. I want to tell you where I see myself in 10 years. I'm going to tell you some concepts that really stuck out to me. And then I just want to share some skills that I plan to use in the near future. So then I would do that. So first, let me start by telling you where I see myself in 10 years. So then you'd work through the meat of each of those main topics. And then you would say, so that's really it in a nutshell. This is where I think I'm going to be in 10 years. These are concepts that were like an aha moment to me. And this is what I plan to do for the skills in the near future. Thank you so much for listening. So it could also work with something very random too. Anyone, tell me something random. Tell me a random object that I could tell you about or an idea. It's test the teacher time.
Tornadoes.
Tornadoes, perfect. Okay, so today I want to tell you about the scariest tornado I've ever been in. I'm going to tell you what led up to the tornado. I'm going to tell you what we did during the tornado, and I'm going to tell you about the community building that happened after the tornado. So let me get started by telling you about the scariest tornado I have ever been in. I would do that, and then I would get to the end and I would say, so today, when you go home, tell people about this scary tornado. Ask other people if they've been in that kind of tornado. I've told you what we did. I'm wondering if there's something better. And then we had really great community building. And I hope you can see that from my story that I shared today. What are things that you could do to build a community too? Crowd goes wild. So that turned into a bit of a persuasive, action-oriented speech, but that was totally off the cuff. Off the cuff does take a little bit of practice, but because I stated those main things to begin with, I already had my main points lined up. Then I just had to go back and remember, and there was a natural progression to those main points. So again, tell them what you told them. So now during your speech, we've learned a lot about nonverbals. You're going to have to use your body if you're in front of people, whether you are in front of a screen like this or you are in person, which hopefully, right, we would all kind of like to get back to being in person with people, except for the convenience of digital communication and online. Hello, how great is it to be able to go to school online and do it at your convenience and go to a great school and you're not stuck by geography. So let's take a look at this picture. What could we infer about the gestures happening here in this picture?
Telling him off.
Listen here, buddy.
That's right.
That pointed finger. What else?
Could be having a conversation about something that happened.
Yeah, they could be having a conversation and he's like, that's what I thought. She's like, you're right. Okay, good. And
That's his sister and she's mad at him because he wants to get back with his ex who did him wrong. And she's like, I told you to leave her alone.
Yes, that's right. Put your head on straight, dude. She's no good for you.
He also could have told a joke and she could be saying, that's funny. That's a good one."
Good, because her mouth is open.
Yeah.
So we might think that she's laughing. Good. So gestures matter. Let's talk about what gestures we would want to use when we're having to speak to other people. So hopefully you've read about gestures that make us more open versus gestures that make us more closed. So even right now, I'm kind of slouching, but when I get excited about something, I sit up straighter, and I want to keep my chest open, and I also want to keep my arm gestures open. So it's sort of like a fake it till you make it kind of thing. So even if you are freaking out on the inside, nobody has to know. And you can project confidence by keeping your shoulders down and keeping your arm motions open. The wider we go, the more we lengthen our arms, the more power we display and the more confidence we display. And I think you will actually feel more confident as well. Another thing is, if you're standing, something you can do to help, again, move that energy is that if you have to stand up, and I'm going to give kind of a little bit longer presentation about what I think, say, we should do to improve our health information management systems. Or maybe I'm a paralegal and I'm giving a presentation to other people that I'm training about what to expect about our office culture. I could stand, and then for my first point, I might walk over to this side of the room. So this helps me move my body. It keeps me from swaying or standing with my arms crossed. It also helps you see the other people from a different angle. So I've given my first point, I might meander over here when I feel like moving again to this other side of the room, which is doing the opposite of what I just said, so that people, so that I'm moving energy and people are getting a different look at me. It also helps you with your eye contact as well. Is it okay to put your hands in your pockets? What do you think?
No.
Generally, it's a huge no-no. I think, though, you might have to think about the relationship that you have with the people that you're speaking with. I think one hand in the pocket might be okay if you're being more casual. In general, try to refrain from putting both hands in your pocket. If you need something to do or say, if you have a whiteboard, pick up a pen and start writing some stuff down so that they can track with you. Another thing to consider is PowerPoint presentations. COM 210 is offered at Bryan, and I don't think you get a choice, but it's a PowerPoint class. And if you ever have to use PowerPoint, don't write everything down on the PowerPoint slide. So like right now, I have just the word gestures. If you look at my other slides, I have one word here with a really nice picture. I've got 3 words. These are my main points. Let's avoid having people be distracted from reading what you have on your slide and actually paying attention to you. Because we've talked about that noise and these channels. If they are busy reading everything that's on your slide, they're not paying attention to what you're saying, because we like to think we can multitask, but we really can't. Our brains can really only do one thing at a time. So if you get to do a PowerPoint presentation or anything that's visual at all, remember the key idea is that your visual should be supporting what you're saying. It should be enhancing your presentation. It should not be your presentation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good, good. So that concludes my chat about public speaking. We've covered the communication model. We've talked about what you can do to warm up your body, how you can organize your thoughts to that tell them adage, and then looked at our nonverbals a little bit to continue to move that energy through our bodies so that we can feel more comfortable and collected when we have to speak in front of people. I do want to say one more thing. So the idea of wondering if people are looking at you, just always remember that if you are asked to speak and give information, it's because your audience wants that information. It has very little to do with what you look like or how you're presenting yourself. You've got knowledge and they want it. So if you can remember nothing else, just remember that you got some power there and they want you to share the love. Okay. So any other questions about public speaking or about where we're going with the course as we start to look towards wrapping it up?
I guess I'm good.
Okay, good, good. Well, if you do have
I'm
anything,
good.
good, never hesitate to contact me. I'm available. And this week is just Yellow Dig and Learners. Woohoo! You can also resubmit for mastery if you want to, some of those earlier assignments. And then we'll start working on assignment 4 next week. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. And thank you for interacting with me so I'm not just talking by myself. All right. Well, have a great afternoon.
You too.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Bye.